G'day everyone, and today from the heavy metal perspective we are looking at the Laney Ironheart. So if I just zoom in a little bit, this is a 60 watt 2x12 combo. You've got your basic power, standby, watts control, reverb, a master tone control, which I think is actually a pretty cool idea, dynamics, which is basically, I think it's a bit of a silly name for it, it's basically a presence control for the bass. So well, that's that. Your clean, rhythm and lead, your volumes. Now, this is where this amp gets pretty interesting. All of these controls, your EQs, are all push-pull. So I'm trying to keep this steady here with the camera, but basically when you pull the, let's stay there, when you pull the treble control, it sort of it shifts the EQ. So when you pull the EQ out, or the treble control out, it seems to get perhaps a bit more mid-rangey, so I'm guessing it maybe lowers the high end and becomes a bit more mid-rangey, which I don't mind. I use that on the lead. The lead's pulled out for the treble, and so is the middle control. The middle, apparently, according to the Laney website, tightens up the sound, and basically what the bass does, it makes the bass deeper. So actually I don't use those at all on the amp. Rhythm gain, lead gain is set about there. Clean volume, which I basically use the clean channel as a kill switch for the amp. And the pre-boost I don't even use. I really think the pre-boost on this amp sounds like shit. So if we look down over here, there's the foot switch for it, which came with the amp with a very, maybe a 30-foot lead, something like that. And I've got a super overdrive on the floor as well, which you can see the level control, which is on the left-hand side, is set to about 9 o'clock. The tone is straight up, and the gain is at about 9 o'clock, and just adds a little bit of grit, kind of fattens up, thickens up the sound a little bit. But if we come back, yesterday I had this amp fitted with EL34s. It came with 6L6s. I bought this second hand about 2 weeks ago. So wanted to have a good play with it before I started doing a demo with it. As you can see on top of the amp, that little red box, I do use the Fender Malmsteen overdrive with it, but I kind of prefer the Boss Super Overdrive. So maybe for Christmas I'll buy myself a DOD 250 and maybe use that. I don't mind the Boss Super Overdrive, kind of does the job, boosts the sound, tightens it up. But enough of that, let's get into some sounds. And yeah, the main reason, before I get into that, the main reason I went for the EL34s, like I said, it came with the 6L6s. I bought this amp second hand, got a ripping deal for it. The guy had it, he bought it brand new a couple of years ago, had it revalved about 2 years ago, and yeah, there was nothing wrong with the valves. I've never had an amp with 6L6s. The clean sounded good, but the gain, the distortion channels can get a bit shrill with that high end, I think, courtesy of the 6L6s. So I've grabbed my guitar. Now, guitar wise, we're going with my beloved, oh shit, before I fucking kick the camera over, my Edwards FR130 GT. Move the camera back. There we go. Alright, so now one thing I do want to talk about. So we will go through the clean channel. There's not a gain control, it's just a clean volume. I'll flip this lens around so I can see what you're looking at. Alright, so it's just a clean volume. The reverb is at 6.5, and with the clean channel, I'm surprised how noisy the reverb is on this amp. The reverb's, I've got to admit, it is a nice reverb. Yeah, it does the job. Now, does the boost work on this channel? Yeah, the boost does work. Sounds like a clean channel, nice reverb. Alright, anyway, that's not why you buy one of these amps, I assume. Now, one thing that's really odd, and I didn't realise, if you have one of these amps, or if you're looking at getting one, with the boost, the boost pedal, the friggin' switch for the channels and that, when the lead channel and the clean channel and there's no lights, you're on the rhythm channel. Right, so we're using a JB and a 59 in this guitar. I'll get away from the amp, so. Now, listen to the, alright, here's, we'll turn the pre-boost up, we'll say half, right? Sounds fair. Alright, and listen to the bottom end. Almost fuzzy. It definitely doesn't tighten up the bottom end. They promote it as it's like a tube screamer. It's nothing like that. Alright, super overdrive. Without it, with it. Just takes away some of that bottom end, focuses the mid-range. Okay, so with the, go through some of these push-pull pots, have a listen to, the biggest difference you're going to notice is the treble. The bass just gets a bit bassier, the mid-range looks apparently tightens up the sound. I don't hear much of a difference. Can you hear that? It's a bit more mid-rangey. Obviously there's no noise gate. Mids, like I said, apparently tightens up the sound. I don't hear a difference. Actually, there was a very subtle difference. This just makes it bassier. Now, while we're here, let's have a look at the watts control. Actually, basically these guys here. Let's have a look at these. So, probably around there, the high end starts to get a little fizzy. So you can hear, I mean, it does do its job. Actually, there you can hear it. If I turn the amp up a bit. It's probably not as bad as I actually thought it was. Anyway. Basically nothing. Reverb at half. Over here, say 3/4. And flat out. 59. Harmonic minor on. Pretty cool stuff. So I'd prefer it around 6-ish. Tone control I thought was a really cool idea. Turn the reverb on. Again, play some black metal. Something like that. About there, that's enough for me. Now, the dynamics control. If I just sort of sweep through that, like I said, this, I'll go this way. About the 11 o'clock position, that's enough for me. And it keeps things, kind of keeps things under control. Keep that there. Like I said, I tend to use the clean channel as basically as a kill switch. Now, I will zoom in a bit for you. Let's stay there. Alright. So, okay, let's go to the lead channel. Now, one thing that's interesting is apparently while you're on the lead channel, you can have the clean channel on as well. Now, from what I've heard, it's supposed to add a bit more clarity or a bit more definition to your playing. No, same thing, I can't really hear too much of a difference. So if I turn the clean volume, like I said, I use it as a kill switch really. So I'll turn the super overdrive off, we'll talk about this pre-boost again, and I think you'll hear it even more so here. It just gets a little farty. So JB, basically into the front of the amp. No boost. Super overdrive. Lead channel, reverb, and super overdrive. With a rig like that, I'd quite happily do a gig, you know. Alright, geez, there's not too much else to talk about. We'll go through these EQ controls on the lead channel now that we're here. So on the lead channel, I have the treble pulled out and the middle pulled out. For my rhythm sound, even like on my recordings, I will scoop out the rhythm guitar tracks and bump up the mid-range a little bit on the lead guitar tracks and take out a bit more high end in an effort to smooth out the lead guitar track. You're already playing higher notes when you're doing lead stuff. I personally don't think you need more high end on top of that. It just takes your head off with the high end. High end plus high end, I don't think it's a great combination. But anyway, it might get a bit noisy while I'm just right here in front of the amp, but so JB. The high end gets a bit more savage, but in a good way. Just for the sake of, you know, lead playing, I tend to pull that out. You can actually even hear a bit of a shift just there. Bring it down about there. The mid-range, like I said, apparently tightens up the sound. I don't really hear a great difference one way or the other. Pull the bass out, get more bass. Just real quick, we'll talk about this pre-boost again. So the super overdrive's off. But if I dial this up a bit more, you'll really hear it basically fart out. It just adds a ton of bass to it. So we can go that route, or we can go the super overdrive. So EL34s versus the 6L6s. After having the sound for 2 weeks, the EL34s was definitely the way to go. They just sort of brought out that mid-range a little bit, tamed the high end, because I found the high end a bit over the top with this, but it's better. It's a pretty cool amp. I'll give it a bit of a squirt. Turn up to 2, and I'll stand away from the amp, which I'll bring this with me. So the super overdrive's still on. So we're on the rhythm channel. Lead channel. It's a pretty cool amp. Now, one thing that Laney did really well, and I thought was very smart, instead of having one handle on the very top of the amp, I'll bring the camera back out, wrong way. Instead of putting one handle, where the fuck are we? One handle on top of the amp, in the center like you would say, for example, on pretty much every other amp you buy, handles are on the side, built in, which I thought was really smart, so much easier to pick it up. I'm sure a lot of you guys have done it. You go to pick up an amplifier and you got the transformer on one side and the whole amp just sways to one side, or you pick up a bass cab, for example, and it just tips one way or the other. So I thought that was a really smart idea. This is replacing my Marshall Class 5. The problem I had with that amp, and on some of the Marshall Facebook groups now, people seem to have the same problem. It's either it's loud, and Marshall do two things in my opinion: loud and fucking loud. There doesn't seem to be much of a middle ground. So even that amp at 5 watts was ball-tearingly loud. So even though this is a 60 watt amp, I have so much more control over it because there was no way I was going to turn that 5 watt amp up to 2 in here, where I can turn this up to 2 and it's 60 watts. And plus you have the watts control, which doesn't affect the sound half as much as the power switch on the back of the Class 5. When you had the Class 5 on full power, it was very bright, but when you turned it on to like the low power mode, it would just sound like someone threw a blanket over it. It was really dark and muffly. So this does affect the sound, the watts control, not half as much as what you'd probably think. A lot of the demos, people go, yeah, it doesn't affect the sound. It does affect the sound a little bit. Overall, I think it's a good amp, but like I said, I've only had it for 2 weeks. I didn't want to do a demo of it the day I got it. I think that's pretty dumb when people do that. Oh, I just got this today. And so that's that. Overall, pretty happy with the amp. I will, actually, if you guys want to see a demo of it plugged into, I guess you could call it vintage now, my Marshall JCM 900 4x12. So it's a Marshall 1960 A cab that was built in the 90s. If you want to see a demo of it plugged into that, leave a comment below. If you want to see it demoed with either, what have I got? Seymour Duncan blackouts, the Gus G blackouts, an Invader, Seymour Duncan distortions. If you want to see this amp demoed with either into the 4x12 or some different pickups, leave a comment and I'll shoot you, well, I'll get the video done. I won't shoot you, I'll get the video done. So, actually one thing I will mention as well, between the 6L6s and the EL34s, my mate gave me a hand with that yesterday, and he's a bit of an amp tech, and we plugged a few things into it. Basically, when you flip this amp over the bias control for the EL34s, they are biased hotter than the 6L6s. So that's a little bit of a thing to take in mind. But it was a pretty easy changeover. But yeah, overall, pretty cool amp, pretty savage rhythm tone, and it's cool. I would recommend a Super Overdrive or something of that nature to just nip up the sound. I mean, I'm sure you heard the difference. This does a similar job with the controls set like that. High end can get a little shrill on that one, almost make your pickups when you're doing lead stuff almost sound single coil-ish. So that's why I'm tempted to try just a DOD 250 instead of this guy. But it's a cool amp. If you've got any questions, feel free to comment below. It's got a lot of different speaker options on the back. It's got 3, I think 12 or ECC 83s, which are 12 AX7s. In the preamp, 2 EL34s, because it's a 60 watter instead of 6L6s, which it had. But yeah, anyway, it's a cool amp, and let's get the fudge aired here. Alright, so until next time, from the heavy metal perspective, thank you. catch you later, alright?